Today's story is called The Hazzan and Her Mitzvah Chickens. In a quiet little town, a woman and her husband lived in a cozy house nestled among tall shade trees and alongside a small stream. The woman was a Hazzan, a spiritual leader for the Jewish community. Each day she would walk to the synagogue to lead the daily prayers and to teach the children Torah. The whole congregation would sing with her when she sang the songs of our ancestors. Her voice was beautiful and uplifting. Many of her students would bring her fruit and vegetables from their garden or bread that their mothers had baked just for her. Everyone knew her kindness and loved her very much. The gifts of food that were left after she and her husband had eaten their dinner were mixed in with the food that she kept to feed her chickens. She and her husband took great care to make sure that their chickens were content. They lived in a special coop that her husband had built for them in a clearing behind their home. The chickens grew and flourished under her care. Each day, they would reward her kindness with baskets filled with speckled brown eggs, each one with a yolk the color of sunshine. Her chickens laid so many eggs that each morning, while on her way to the synagogue, the Hazzan would set some of the eggs in baskets at the end of the path to her house to share with everyone who could use them. Each afternoon, when the Hazzan returned home, she would find the egg baskets empty and coins left in their place. The Hazzan would put the coins into a special tzedakah box. The Hazzan's husband had made this tzedakah box and, much to her pleasure, had painted it to look like a chicken. Indeed, it was the most beautiful chicken you could imagine. This special box, meant to hold money that would go to a charitable purpose, had its own place on the kitchen counter. One evening, there was a terrible storm. Wind blew gusts of icy rain in every direction. The storm raged on for 2 days without letting up. The Hazzan pulled her cloak tightly around her as she brought food and fresh water into the coop. The chickens were warm and cozy inside. As the Hazzan spread fresh straw for them, she would sing. The chickens seemed to love her company very much. Finally, the storm ended. The Hazzan made her way back to the synagogue, only to find that the storm had taken away most of the roof and had allowed the wind and the rain to destroy the beloved building. The synagogue building was very old and had been there longer than anyone could remember. The Hazzan searched for the Torah scroll, hoping that it had remained safe during the storm. She carefully made her way to the ark to find the doors closed and the precious Torah safe and dry inside. The Sidurim were not so fortunate. Their aged covers and thin paper pages were no match for the soaking rains. Her shoulders sagging with worry, she wondered how the community would manage without a synagogue and without prayer books. Others were making their way to the synagogue and found her there, quietly sobbing. They surveyed the damage and made plans to work together to rebuild the house of worship that they loved. Within weeks, it was finished. Before them stood a sturdy structure with a new roof. This building was strong enough to withstand the fiercest wind and new windows that closed tightly to keep out the rain. The community had come together to donate materials, money, and their time to rebuild the synagogue. Sadly, no money remained to replace the prayer books. New Sidurim would have to wait until the money could be saved. Returning home that afternoon, the Hazzan absent-mindedly picked up the egg basket, empty of eggs, but filled with coins. She walked to her house. She set the basket on the kitchen table and wondered how long it would be before her students would have new books. After turning her attention to preparing their supper, she took the coins from the basket and put them into the tzedakah box. She had to push to get the first coin inside. The next coin could not be coaxed through the opening. The Hazzan realized that she needed both hands and great effort to move the tzedakah box from its place on the counter. She called to her husband to come and help her. Together, they carried the heavy box to the kitchen table. They unhinged the lid and began to remove handfuls of coins until the weight had lessened enough for them to turn the box over and empty the remaining contents. Coins clinked and clattered out in what seemed like a never-ending stream. There were so many coins that they covered the table and spilled onto the floor. Darkness had fallen by the time the coins had been collected and sorted. Mountains of stacked coins covered most of their table. They ate their dinner of fresh bread, cheese, and fruit by the fireplace and wondered how so many coins had come to fill their tzedakah box. Our chickens enjoy some of the food that our community bakes with love and shares with us, she said. Because of this, our chickens lay more eggs than we can possibly use, and in turn, we are always happy to share that abundance with everyone, the Hazzan said out loud. The coins that I find in the basket are what I've been placing into the tzedakah box. At once, they knew what charitable purpose would benefit from their egg money. It took most of the evening to count all of the coins. When they had finished, they had enough money to see that everyone who came to learn and pray would have their own siddur. There is a hand-painted sign that now hangs above the Hazzan's chicken coop, and it reads, Mitzvah chickens. The Mitzvah chickens continue to lay speckled brown eggs, each with a yolk the color of sunshine, and the Hazzan continues to leave baskets filled with them for everyone to share. That's our story for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time.